Now going back to our discussion, when we are talking about basically implementing any circuit with what is called control data path style. Okay, what we are looking at is, now this is what actually we discussed, before jumping into this example, that we have a controller, we have a data path, this is how it takes, and the processor is a good example. But in processor there are little more complications in the sense that you have memory, you have IO and all. So to control unit you get control signals, there might be memory, okay, there are additional input output blocks, but your basic design will not change. Okay. Now ALU is the best example to work with, okay, because ALU, ALU consists of typically two set of inputs, and you are going to have some operation select. Okay, mode select is to tell that whether it is arithmetic operation or logic operation. Once you select a mode, insert this operation whether to tell if it is arithmetic, addition, multiplication, subtraction, if it is logic, AND gate, OR gate, something like that. Okay. Now look at this simple example that you have built basically let's say one arithmetic unit, one logical unit, 1 bit for 1 bit case. Then both of them will go to a 2 by 1 mux and then select line selected. So this total thing is data path. The one which is generating the select line is nothing but basically the select line is nothing but your control. Okay, controller. Okay, now when it comes to actually making n such blocks, that is for 1 bit. When you want to make n bit ALU, you need to just put that kind of units multiple. Okay. Then this could be a simple example of ALU that one might try implementing. So these are all the arithmetic operations and these are all the logical operations. Given the arithmetic operation value is 0 and this control lines, and depending upon the carry values, then you can define a function and do it. Okay. So what do you mean by micro operations? This comes in only in the context of processor based design. When you are implementing simple signal processing algorithms, you don't come across what do you mean by micro operations there. Okay. In process based design, it is something like when you want to add y is assigned to a plus b. The registers which are connected to adder may not be a and b. It may be a and c. You have to move b into c. So there basically this comes. Moving data could be one operation, adding could be one operation, incrementing could be one operation. Like that, they are all micro operations. So control unit actually gives control signals to precisely control these micro operations to achieve your end assembly, whatever the instruction functionality. Okay. Yeah, the example is actually branch instruction kind of thing. We know very well, basically when you want to implement this kind of things, you have to think in RTL perspective. So let's take an example that you have R1 to R2 data move, like R2 is a destination and R1 is a source. Then if you have a kind of condition that if K1 is equal to 1, then R2 assigned to R1, then these were actually shorter form of representation. So how do you do that? Now look at this. So this is what basically R1, this is what basically R2. And you cannot all the time actually connect and disconnect these lines. So lines will be permanently light up. Okay, in my next topic we are talking about the bus, etc. So as per the bus architecture, these wires are permanently connected. But what changes in runtime actually is the logic on this wire, load. So all the time R1 data is available at the input of R2. But whenever I give load, that time only it gets loaded. Similar to our earlier example, all the time the Z output of this flip-flop is available over here. But only once that you enable that gets loaded. The enable here, load there is same. You got it? So point to be noted here, these are kind of enable which is generated. Okay. Now since this enable or load is also generated in the same clock domain, that is running a state machine or a counter or something, counter followed by comparator in the same clock domain. Whatever the clock domain is, whatever these clocks you are seeing here, and the state machine which is generating the load also running the same clock. You know pretty well, if the K1 goes like this, not on this edge transfer takes place, at this edge transfer takes place. You got the point? Because this fellow will only go high after clock to output delay from here, referring to my previous discussion. So only during this edge load will be seen as the one. It's the most important practical aspect that you need to know when you are implementing RTL circuits. Okay, most of the times we will be under assumption that okay, come on, you have a register. The register is having P and Q. Then there is an enable for this. This enable I am generating here. We will think at this edge the output will come. No, at this edge only enable is seen as a 1. The point to be noted is this logic is also generated by the same clock. So this is not available immediately. This being 1 is only sensed over here.
Next rising edge.
Yes, next rising edge. That is here, exactly here. I mean exactly here, I don't mean precisely here. During this there will be a rising edge, right? That rising edge to clock to output delay only this Q will change. Not here. Okay, that's the important thing which is shown there. Okay. Now, when you have muxes basically, when you, like for example, there are occasions where register receives data from 2 or more sources. How to put them? I mean, how to select one among, okay, each source? Muxes. Okay, muxes are the easiest way. Look at this example. You wanted basically when K1 actually it's not fitting here. I read it. If K1 is equal to 1, then you want R1. If K1 is equal to 1, you want R1 to be copied to R0. Else you want, I mean, if K1 is not 1, if K2 is equal to 1, then you want R2 to go on this one. So you want to put into equations. The equation is like this. If K1 is 1, then you do this. If K1 is 0 and K2 is 1, you do this. So how do you implement this? Mux based design. So R2, R1, those two are fed to a mux. First of all, you are looking at K1. If K1 is equal to 1, yeah, directly if K1 is equal to 1, R1 is going into R0, straightforward. If K1 is 0, then what happens? R2 will come here. K1 is equal to 0, R2 will come here. Got it? Because it's R gate, if K1 is equal to 1, that time also load will be high. If K1 is equal to 0, then this path will be enabled and R2 will come here. At that time, if K2 is equal to 1, then only load gets issued. So if K1 is 0 and K2 is also 0, this register will not get to be affected. Why? Even though this path is highlighted and R2 is here, load is 0. Okay? That's the logic. Now, this one we represent with the short form 4-bit, 4-bit. Maybe you want in detailed view, 4 lines, load, control, select. This is something, detailed representation. Next we are talking about the buses. Okay? See, when you are designing about in a microprocessor kind of circuit, you would require data to move across multiple peripherals, memory and all. One way of doing it is using muxes and all. I think in next slide we are talking about that. Muxes, tri-state and all. And using buses also. In fact, the bus underlying architecture will be using again tri-state logic or muxes or something like that. Okay. Now, let's look into the context now. You want to do something like this. There is a source 1, there is a source 2, there is a destination 1, there is a destination 2. And bus is something which is a shared logic between them. Okay. Depending upon the controller signals, this fellow may insert the data and that fellow may observe the data.
So this bus is only passive one, which doesn't have any control signals in it.
Yeah, bus is simply wires which are routed among these fellows. You got it? I mean, we are not very sure whether it's completely passive wires, and if the bus is very long, then in between some CMOS buffers may be there to improve the drive strength and all. But yes, functionality wise, you don't demand any special flip-flops on the bus. Simple junctions, they are nothing but wires. Okay? Now I think I better explain with the next one. Look at this. This is entered. Maybe I will push escape. Now look at this one. So what you are trying to see. This one is what, look at this example. There is R0, there is R1 and there is R2. Okay. Now there are 3 multiplexers. See, because you have 3 registers, R0, R1, R2. What kind of operations you can expect? You don't expect R0 to R0 data move. That is not required to be executed. You don't have to do anything for that. Even if such instruction is written, during that time don't do anything, it is implemented. Okay. What are other possibilities? Load R1 into R0 or load R2 into R0. Like that for the remaining 3 also you can do 2 possibilities. So you have put 2 by 1 mux, 2 by 1 mux and 2 by 1 mux here, and those electrons are coming from this and load lines are also here. See, because if you don't have load, select is actually a combination logic. If there is no control on the load, all the time it is changes, this register will change. That I don't want. Even though the register inputs are changing, when you want the register not to change the value, you should disable that. That is the main load is equal to 0. That is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is, you see, you have a 3 by 1 mux. Okay, this 3 by 1 mux, whatever is given to a bus, which is directly feeding over here. Then, depending on select lines, same value is shown on these 3. But depending on which one you give load is equal to 1, that gets affected. This is the other way of doing it. Now, yeah, in this case, for example, if you go by this topology, this is impossible. Okay, but in the previous case, it is possible. See, if you go by this topology, because same line is available for all the 3, at the same time you want to do these operations, it is not possible. But in the previous case, it is possible. Why? Because every fellow has got its own individual muxes. Okay. Anyway, there are different trade-offs. We don't have to get details of it. Other way of implementing them is tri-state logic. We already discussed in our last session about the tri-state buffers. So, a smart way of doing it could be, you look at here, you don't look at this one. This is actually conventional multiplexer bus. Maybe I can put it into full screen. So, this is conventional mux design. This is tri-state design. Okay. So, in tri-state design, what you are doing, these are all basically the outputs. This symbol is to indicate the tri-state. All their outputs are shorted. Okay. Actually, something that is missing here is all these 3 outputs are shorted, and that is available at the input of all the 3. So what it means is, let us say you want to move R2 to R0. Then what do you do? R2 output only you remove tri-state. Remaining 2 will be in tri-state. So on this bus, physically 3 lines are connected, but only this fellow is going to drive. These 2 are actually what tri-state. So no logic is kept on the output of it. Then if I give load signal 0 to R0, what happens? Actually that connection is missing. From here it will actually go on to this one. But that is indirectly shown by showing a bidirectional bus here. Got it? So this fellow puts tri-state, so this fellow puts the actual value. These 2 will show tri-state, but load will be high for R0. So whatever R2 has placed will be taken into R0. That's a tri-state bus concept. Anyway, there are different variants. Most important thing about, okay. Now, since the ALU is designed as a pure combinational circuit, the entire register transfer operation from source register to ALU can be done in single clock cycle. But this may not be universally a correct statement. If the combination logic has got more delay, you know pipelining will insert stages. Okay. That's what we already discussed about pipelining. So I'll skip this. So pipelining basically exploits parallelism. Like you have this much of combination logic. Don't wait until the full combination output comes. Divide into parts. That's already discussed about it. So this is a summary which is more pertaining to the CPU and ALU context. But nevertheless, our main concern is about how to design data path, how to design control circuit, and we should understand the fact that the control logic is generated by the same clock. So at the end of the control cycle only, you will be able to see the effect. Okay. So when you do couple of design exercises in VHDL Verilog, you will fully understand this. And this is what actually the important principles which people lack when they are coding, and they tend to go, oh come on, this is coming into sequential logic is creating a problem, and they try to tie up this to asynchronous logic of it. See, when you tie up this to asynchronous logic, it is all different. The story itself is different, but that is discouraged. Both in ASIC and FPGA synthesis, usage of asynchronous control is discouraged. So that's why I am not encouraging you to understand that style itself. Don't use that. Use all the time synchronous signals for only controlling your control data path. Got it? Asynchronous control signals if you give, the moment you give actually, what is that called, clear to this, immediately it goes to clear. That creates little problem in terms of, like in the sense, because the asynchronous clear which is making clear, when the tool has to basically do what is called timing optimization and all, it will not have perfectly an understanding that when this particular value is going to 0. Otherwise, tool pretty well knows that exactly after log edge 2 nanosecond this value is setting. So that certainty when it lost, it is difficult to do. So a lot of things you have to only work out. Okay. Now somebody will think, see, when you use synchronous logic, if I generate the pulse like this, not on this edge you are able to capture. That they think as a drawback. No, need not be. See, if you want this state to come on state 0, if you think on state 0 itself you want to sense it, not in the state 1. I mean, in the state 0 itself you want to make this 0, let us say, by any reason. No problem. Instead of doing compare with 0, 2 compare with 99. You got it? So that's why you can move the control logic little ahead, okay, than this one. Okay. So we'll learn more about when we are doing VHDL Verilog design exercises. Okay.